Please raise your hand. Here's an example of a congresswoman tweeting. You remember that Representative Gifford said this terrible shooting happened to her. This was 10 minutes before she tweeted, before she was shot, she tweeted this happened. And then, this is another member of Congress doing some tweeting. And I'm sorry to remind you of this national episode of terrible shame and embarrassment, but you might remember this. Now, there's a journalistic lesson in this tweet and in the story of Anthony Weiner. For those of you who have blissfully forgotten this or never heard of this, Representative Weiner was having a series of conversations online with women who were very young and almost none in his district. And when he was caught, he said he claimed to have been hacked that his Twitter account had been hacked. Well, it turns out that there's plenty of blame to go around for this. Obviously, he's to blame for his idiocy. But I also blame the journalists who were covering him for not breaking this story. What I mean by that is we as journalists need to think of adding to our playbook of how we follow people and our sources. What I mean by that is we've got to add to our playbook the social connection that we have in other ways. So what I mean by this is that people who are covering him should have been following his Twitter feed carefully. And they should have noticed that there was a conversation 3 months earlier about him on Twitter. Conservatives had been started tweeting, there's something wrong with @Rep Weiner's account because he's talking to all these young women. What's up with that? And no journalist was following closely enough to notice this. It was like a gift for journalists, and they didn't follow up. So what he should have done, what the journalist should have done, was pay attention to this. Now, just on a technicality, you know why he got in trouble for this, why this was out. So what this is a tweet to a young woman named Jeanette Nicole and a photograph of his underwear is what this is. And he, of course, deleted it. You know the mistake that happened here? He meant to write D space Jeanette Nicole. Instead, he wrote @Jeanette Nicole and it became public. Just that one letter cost him his career, right? And one of the things is that Twitter is confusing to use. Twitter is confusing to use. One of the founders of Twitter said he was surprised how successful Twitter has been, considering how complicated it is to use. Imagine any other founder saying that. So I would suggest to all of us that as journalists, we need to, when we meet sources, ask them, are you on Twitter? Are you using it? How can we connect? And we should keep occasional eye on that. I'm going to show you a tool now that I believe all journalists should be using as they think about connecting with their sources. And it's a tool, called Reportive. Is anybody here using this? One person? So I would love to see all of you checking this out. Reportive.com has been recently bought by LinkedIn for, I think, $40 million or so. And what this does is if you're using Gmail, you'll see that there's a pane that shows up. As you type the person's name, on the right shows up his or her latest tweets and Facebook postings if you're connected to them. It really changes your relationship with your source because you're able to reference things that are happening on there. Or if someone says, so for example, if they say, I'm away in Fort Lauderdale at a conference, you don't even have to contact them because as you start writing their note to them, their photo pops up and their latest tweets come up. It's a nice little thing. You can also write little comments or keep notes on there. And it's an example of how we can put social into our relationships with our sources. And I encourage you to try it out. So if you haven't seen this, it's a free service, and it works on Firefox, Safari, and Chrome. And it won't work on your regular Office email, but a lot of people are using Gmail to do this, and it's an example of some of the changes that are coming around us in journalism, and something that I'd like you to be aware of.